Now, this next myth is something that we actually hear very frequently when speaking with families, and it makes sense why it's a myth. And it's really that the recruiting process really doesn't start until junior or senior year. And when we look at it, we can peel back the onion in a couple different ways as to most live conversations with college coaches happening maybe later on in high school. Naturally, being an upperclassman junior, senior year, just thinking that's when things happen, but also the disalignment with the academic and the admissions process. Typically, as a freshman or early on in high school, we're not applying to colleges for admission's sake. Typically, we don't have a full GPA listed just yet when we're underclassmen. So again, it makes sense as to why this is a myth. Again, not starting the process until junior and senior year. But David, just like you mentioned, this is about being proactive. A lot of the aspects of the recruiting journey is about being proactive and being proactive as early as possible.
Yeah, and the NCAA and their recruiting rules says you're a recruitable student athlete once you enter high school. So when you walk into those doors your freshman year, that first day where you're wondering what's going on, you're nervous probably, you are in the NCAA eyes a recruitable student athlete. As Philip touched on, June 15th or September 1st between sophomore and junior year is really when college coaches will start the direct contact with college coaches. But early on as a freshman, as a sophomore, you can be getting questionnaires, camp invites, letters from college coaches that are more generic, letting you know that you are a prospect on their recruiting watch list. So again, it's not all of a sudden junior year hits for you and college coaches sit back and say, okay, let's take a look at this 2023 class and see who we want to start recruiting. They're taking steps 8th grade, freshman year in some cases. And as Philip mentioned, they're building a recruiting list. All right, if I'm a baseball coach, here are my top 20 catchers I've identified, my top 20 right-handed pitchers, left-handed pitchers, etc. And then once junior year hits, that's when things get more serious. That's when those coaches start picking up the phone. They start calling you, maybe inviting you out for a visit, having some more steady conversations. So we hear this all the time. I think this is probably and Philip, I thought you brought up a good point. It's understandable why this is a myth, but it's probably the biggest one that we hear where families say, well, he's only a sophomore. She's only a freshman. We're going to wait until junior year. Well, there are other student athletes who 8th grade freshman year, they're building their profiles. They're sending out information to college coaches. That's the beautiful part of starting this process early and being proactive is as a freshman in high school, you can email any college coach in the country you want. So you don't have to wait again for coaches to find you or wait until your junior year to do this. The sooner you can do this and freshman, sophomore year, use that as a way to get on lists and cast that net wide, get coaches knowing who you are. That way, when junior year hits, you've done legwork that's going to start resulting in some direct conversations and some more serious conversations from college coaches that will eventually hopefully lead to the offers, the scholarships, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and we oftentimes talk about the set amount of work typically that needs to be done in a recruiting process. And that set amount of work is usually 4 to 5 years worth of work, depending on the sport and a couple other variables. But again, make it easier on yourself when it comes to the recruiting process. It's challenging enough, right? With 4 years worth of work, a set amount of work, ask yourself, do you want to fit 4 years of work into maybe a year or two? Or do you want to spread that 4 years of work out and average it across your full high school journey, your full recruiting journey? That is really how you want to manage the recruiting process, by starting early, maintaining control of the recruiting process, and really letting your preferences drive your recruiting process instead of being reactionary, in which we run into a lot when it comes to later on in the recruiting process if you start later.